I don't really know if I necessarily have a favorite weirdest extinct creature. I don't really like finding favorites when I'm talking about, such a huge range of things like prehistoric animals. But if I had to pick one of my favorite ones, if I really had to choose, it would probably be Odobenocetops, or the walrus whale. Welcome back to Paleopedia, and Odobenocetops is a very interesting species of small whale from Peru that lived during the late Miocene to the late Pliocene, around 10.5 to about 3.5 million years ago. As far as cetaceans go, it was on the smaller side. It measured around 8 to 13 feet in length and weighed around 1,800 to 2,200 pounds, so roughly the same mass, at least, as the modern narwhal, of which is closely related to, but it lived in the tropics of South America. But what makes Odo even more interesting than the weirdest whale today, the narwhal, is the way that its teeth were positioned, because like the narwhal, it had tusks, but these tusks pointed backwards. Now, in narwhals, it's generally the males that develop the really long spiral tusk out of their upper left jaw. But in Odobenocetops, both males and females had two tusks growing, one from either side of the jaw, backwards at an angle of about 60 degrees. In the females, the tusks were really small and about the same size each, but in the males, they were asymmetrical. They were larger, and the right tusk in particular was significantly larger than their left tusk, in some cases growing upwards of over 3 feet in length. This is a case of convergent evolution. While Odobenocetops and modern narwhals share a common ancestor, they're actually really closely related, they each evolved their tusks independently from each other. So that's convergent evolution. Just with narwhals, the tusks pointed forward, and with Odobenocetops, the tusks pointed backwards. Of course, we don't know what Odobenocetops were using these tusks for. Based on the studies that we have, it seems as though the tusks were just simply too fragile to be used for actual jousting or for hunting purposes, at least active hunting. We think they were used more for social displays between males in fighting for the mating rights to females, but they also may have been used in their orientation when they were feeding, because they fed in a very interesting way. Despite being completely unrelated lineages of animals, Odobenocetops shares a very similar morphology in their skulls to walruses, which are avid suction feeders. They have a lot of movement in their mouths that they use to shuck up all the clams and the crustaceans that they feed on up in the high Arctic. Odobenocetops has a similar general makeup of its skull, indicating that it likely suction fed in a similar manner to modern walruses. Since Odobenocetops didn't have any teeth outside of its tusks, it's heavily theorized that it suction fed in a similar manner to walruses, using its lips to hold bottom dwelling bivalves, clams and mussels and whatnot, and using its powerful tongue to suck out all the meat from the shell. We see more evidence of this in the movement of its neck. I believe out of all of the known whales in the world, extant and extinct, Odobenocetops has by far the greatest range of movement in its neck, allowing it to orient itself really well in a whole bunch of different ranges while it's feeding. The flexibility of their necks may have also helped them deal with this oddly positioned tusk. It's believed that due to the amount of flexion that they have in their necks, they were easily able to deal just with the tusk bumping into their sides or even affecting their swimming ability. And while we just simply don't really know the function of the tusks, we do know obviously that there was some role that they were playing, and it seems likely it was probably more for social displays amongst males in competition for females, since the males always had the longer right tusk compared to females. The area that Odobenocetops has been found in, it was a rich marine environment along the coast of South America, and it lived in the era of giant predators like Megalodon and Leviathan, and Odobenocetops, due to its size and feeding style, likely stuck to the shallows of its environment, which brought it into contact with a whole bunch of different animals. Odobenocetops lived alongside a wide range of other cetaceans, from baleen whales to porpoises to sperm whales and other toothed species, as well as some beaked whales, but its environment probably led it more into contact with several species of marine gharials, as well as the marine sloth, Thalassocnus, which I've talked about before in this video. Feel free to go check it out. Odobenocetops likely went extinct for similar reasons as to Thalassocnus, the marine sloth, which again I've talked about before. The continents of North and South America eventually connected, which cut off the warm ocean current flowing between the two continents from the Atlantic and the Pacific and vice versa or whatever, and that caused a global cooling event that likely led to the extinction of these warm tropical seas and the animals that lived in them. But overall, Odobenocetops is just a really interesting and weird whale, and he's definitely one of my favorites, even though I don't really pick favorites when it comes to weird extinct species.